saw children suffocating, asking for breath because they couldn't breathe. He shot tear gas on children.
They fired a shot at us, and then instead of saying sorry, we knew it was an accidental shot, they shot some more. Okay, we was about to talk and make peace and negotiate, and they shot at us.
For several hours, everything was peaceful. There was some chanting and a speech by the opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim.
It's very important that we have Malaysians from all communities, nation groups, converging together, demanding fair, free elections and stop the fraud.
But when a small group of protesters broke through security barriers, they were targeted with tear gas and water cannon. Police estimate that 40 to 50,000 people were involved. Organisers, though, put the number at 250,000. About 500 demonstrators were arrested. All have now been released.
The rule of law, maknanya siasatan mesti berlaku.
The rule of law means we need to do an investigation, and it must be a fair and objective investigation. After that, the legislative body will make a decision according to the facts, and not through emotional reactions and rumours.
The Home Minister says police acted with professionalism and restraint under difficult circumstances. But monitoring teams from the Malaysian Bar Council say they witnessed an array of heavy-handed tactics. While there was plenty of action on the streets, the demonstration was largely ignored by government-controlled media organisations.
It is just incredible that last night when I saw the news following the demonstration, following the tear gassing of tens of thousands of demonstrators, and I happened to be caught up in that, there was no coverage of that in the official media. And that just seems extraordinary.
Australian Independent Senator Nick Xenophon is in Kuala Lumpur as part of an international fact-finding mission on Malaysia's electoral processes. Members have already formed the view that the country's electoral system is backward and needs major improvement.
I think election commission need to be improved and the system need to be improved. And if the institutions improve, then democracy will improve.
And they haven't been encouraged by meetings with the ruling coalition.
In our meeting with the Secretary General of the United Malays National Organisation, who is also the Secretary General of Barisan Nasional, he stated, and I quote, "The importance of avoiding racial strife. Are our people mature for freedom?" Commenting on political developments in Indonesia, he offered the view, one of the problems with Indonesia is that there is too much freedom, unquote. It is the view not only of myself, but of the distinguished colleagues in the group, that these comments are disturbing and they reflect authoritarian attitudes at the highest levels of power.
Malaysia's parliament approved a raft of electoral reforms earlier this month, but protesters say those reforms don't address the big issue of electoral fraud, which they claim has kept the Barisan Nasional coalition in power for the last 55 years.
That you want to share in shaping this country because Malaysia...
And concern about those reforms isn't just confined to the streets of Kuala Lumpur. There have also been big rallies in major cities around the world.
Use your freedom, use your liberty to fight for our liberty back home!
The growing protests are putting a lot of pressure on the Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak. Before the weekend, speculation was rife that he was preparing to dissolve Parliament to make way for early elections in June.
I think there is no way that the Barisan Nasional can win the urban areas. It's quite clear from the crowd we saw on Saturday that a big number of people living in the urban areas have given up on the government and they will vote against the Barisan Nasional.
Given that, the fallout from the weekend protests could be an important indicator of when the Prime Minister goes to the polls.
I think now there is a bit more uncertainty relating to the possible election date, largely because, you know, the way that the public is going to perceive the event is going to be very mixed, and people are more deeply polarized now.
If the police get a lot of the blame and the opposition look like they didn't start the trouble, I think the Prime Minister will have no choice but to declare the elections. if the general mood of the people is that the fight was started by the opposition, I think there's every chance that the Prime Minister will actually hold the general elections quickly.
In any case, an election must be held by early next year.